Hi, good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, the G20 summit is beginning in Germany today, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Germany to attend that summit. And before that, however, there have been clashes between police and protesters in Hamburg. That is our top focus this morning. That and much more coming up, starting with the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Germany to attend the G20 summit. Terrorism and climate change top agenda. Meeting also scheduled with BRICS leaders on the sidelines. Fresh West Bengal's Basirhat Section 144 imposed. BJP left Congress delegations to visit riot-hit areas in North 24 Parganas. Hill parties in Darjeeling decide to continue their indefinite shutdown. Decision at a 5-hour-long all-party meet. Next meeting scheduled for 18th of July. And brilliant knock by Virat Kohli helped India seal a 3-1 series win against West Indies. Hosts are defeated by 8 wickets in last match at Kingston. And in tennis, Bopanna advances to second round at the Wimbledon. Pace bows out of a men's doubles event. Federer, Djokovic, Kerber and Radwanska advance to round 3. Pliskova out. Our top story this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in the German city of Hamburg to attend the G20 summit after wrapping up his historic 3-day visit to Israel. Now, he will attend the summit hosted by Germany on 7th and 8th of July. Now, the theme of the summit this year is the shaping an interconnected world. On the sidelines of the summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is to participate in a meeting of leaders of the BRICS nations, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa grouping today. He is also set to hold bilateral meetings with some of the world leaders there. Now, the G20, founded in 1999, comprises a mix of the world's largest and emerging economies, representing about 2/3 of the world's population, 85% of the GDP, and over 75% of global trade.
We would expect that the G20 leaders, world leaders, would have substantial time, and it would be a leaders retreat format. So leaders will have a free-flowing but a very intimate discussion on the subject. And broadly, this also aligns with the Prime Minister's own approach in his meetings with the world leaders, including G20 leaders, with the central thrust on countering terrorism.
And earlier on the last day of his Israel visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Haifa. Now, he paid homage to the Indian soldiers who sacrificed their lives during World War I for the liberation of Haifa city.
On the last day of his historic visit to Israel, Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid homage to the Indian soldiers who laid down their lives during World War I while protecting the Israeli city of Haifa. He also unveiled a plaque commemorating Major Dalpat Singh, known as a hero of Haifa, for the critical role he played in the liberation of the city. 44 Indian soldiers, part of the Allied forces, had sacrificed their lives in 1918, protecting Haifa from the Ottoman Turks during World War I. Later in the day, Prime Minister Modi and Netanyahu addressed the India-Israel CEOs Forum. Around 30 CEOs from the two countries participated. The forum set a target to increase bilateral trade from the current $5 billion to $20 billion within 5 years. The forum also set up 6 joint committees covering startups, pharma and life sciences, homeland security, agriculture, energy and water sectors. Prime Minister Modi also interacted with Indian students in Tel Aviv. Later, the two prime ministers took a stroll on the Olga beach in northern Israel. The two leaders waded barefoot into the sea. They also saw a demonstration of a mobile water desalination unit and drank water from it. Earlier, the two leaders attended a technology exhibition. Modi tweeted, "Some of the key focus areas of my Israel visit are startups and technology. Had the opportunity to visit an impressive technology exhibition." During the historic visit, India and Israel signed 7 important agreements on Wednesday after the conclusion of summit-level talks between the two leaders. They include 3 agreements on space technology, 2 on water, 1 on innovation, and 1 on the Israeli Agency for International Development Cooperation. Terrorism, development cooperation, and trade also dominated the talks between the two leaders. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
So Prime Minister Narendra Modi is now in Germany, where at least 76 police officers were hurt in clashes with the anti-G20 protesters in Hamburg. Now this as a demonstration dubbed a Welcome to Hell erupted in violence shortly after it began. Well, the confrontation was reported even as the world leaders, including US President Donald Trump, arrived in the city ahead of the G20 summit. The theme chosen for this year's summit is the Shaping an Interconnected World. However, there has never been a time when there was more dissent within the G20 leaders over several issues. Ahead of the G20 summit in Germany, clashes between police and protesters in Hamburg. 76 police officers and several protesters injured. The clashes started during Welcome to Hell March, which began about 2 miles from where the summit is to be held, attended by close to 12,000 people. Police fired water cannons and pepper spray at masked protesters, ordering many of them to remove their masks. Protesters responded by hurling bottles, stones and flares. While the march itself was cancelled, violence spread to other areas of the city. Violence continued during the night as well. At Rote Flora building, a pile of trash was set on fire. While the protesters were essentially anti-capitalist, there were protests against climate change and other pressing world issues that demonstrators say the G20 has failed to address.
Und den Faschismus produziert, besonders wie Trump, der so faschistoid auftritt und sagt, ich bin bereit, auch die Atombombe zu benutzen, und so einen Typen hier hinzuladen im Namen der sogenannten kapitalistischen Demokratie.
Meanwhile, the G20 leaders face their own disagreements, including over climate change and trade. During the 2-day meeting, world leaders, including US President Donald Trump, are also expected to discuss major issues like terrorism and migration. Trump has already met German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and the pair spent an hour talking about North Korea, the Middle East, the conflict in eastern Ukraine and G20 issues. The summit will also see Trump meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin for the first time.
Meine Damen und Herren, Deutschland hat ja in diesem Jahr die G20-Präsidentschaft inne, und wir freuen uns, die Regierungschefs aus den G20-Mitgliedstaaten und aus vielen regionalen Organisationen und auch den internationalen Organisationen hier in Hamburg begrüßen zu können.
The G20, founded in 1999, meets each year. It includes 19 countries and the European Union and accounts for approximately 80% of the global GDP. Some 20,000 police have been deployed in Hamburg for the summit. After the violent clashes on Thursday, extra security cordons have been erected to prevent protesters reaching the venues. Up to 1 lakh protesters are expected in Hamburg during Friday and Saturday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Meanwhile, back home, the CBI has registered a case against former Railway Minister Lalu Prasad, his wife, sons and others in connection with the alleged awarding of tenders for hotels in Ranchi and Puri. Remember, Lalu was the Railway Minister in 2006. The searches are conducted at 12 locations. The locations are in Delhi, Patna, Ranchi, Puri and Gurugram. Well, more details on this latest development are awaited. Well, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Thursday termed Jammu and Kashmir adopting GST as the financial integration of the entire nation. He was addressing a BJP event about GST in New Delhi. He said that GST will be profitable for even the non-manufacturing states like Jammu and Kashmir. Here are all the details.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has termed the goods and services tax as the biggest economic reform post-independence. Addressing people at the Talkatore Stadium in New Delhi, he added that Prime Minister Modi not just got the bill approved in Parliament, but also got states and union territories to pass their laws, with Jammu and Kashmir being the latest to pass a resolution adopting GST on Wednesday.
इसका योग्य उस राज्य को मिलता है जिसमें अंत में जाकर सामान बिकता है। ये डेस्टिनेशन टैक्स है। जो अंतिम यात्रा उस सामान की होती है, उस राज्य को इसका लाभ मिलता है। जो पैदावार करता है उसको नहीं मिलता। अब पैदावार करने वाले कई राज्य थे, तो इन्होंने कहा कि भाई हमारा नुकसान जो होगा उसकी भरपूरी कैसे करोगे। सरकार इसकी कल्पना नहीं कर पाई।
Meanwhile, former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram has termed the GST in its current form imperfect with major flaws.
It is a mockery of GST. When we have rates like 0.25, 3, 5, 12, 18, 28 and 40, and possibly more because of the discretion vested with the state governments, how can we call this a one nation, one tax regime?
However, taking a dig at the Congress, Jaitley said the first move towards bringing this landmark law was made by the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government 17 years ago and not the Congress. Panchanan Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some other news now. NDA's presidential nominee Ram Nath Kovind and his rival Meera Kumar continue to seek support for their candidature from across the country for the 17th of July polls. While Kumar will visit her native village Chandwa in Bihar's Bhojpur district, Kovind will visit Meghalaya. During her day-long visit, Meera Kumar will meet legislators of the Congress Party and the RJD in two separate meetings in Patna. Now, Kovind's visit to Meghalaya is significant as the NDA's ally, the United Democratic Party, has pledged to support Kumar in the election for the top post. Now, after their nomination last month, Kumar and Kovind have been visiting various states as part of their campaign for the top constitutional post. And for more news from across the country, let's go nationwide. The Supreme Court is likely to pass an order today on whether or not Aadhaar card is mandatory for availing government social benefit schemes. Earlier in the month, the Apex Court pronounced its order on mandatory requirements of Aadhaar for income tax return. The Income Tax Department has also stepped up its efforts to encourage people to link their PAN with Aadhaar. Air India has launched its first flight to Washington, D.C. from New Delhi. The move adds its fifth destination in the United States. The plane offers 8 seats in first class, 35 in business and 195 in economy class. The service to the U.S. capital will be offered 3 times a week. The Maharashtra government has expanded the ambit of its loan waiver scheme to include even those farmers who had taken loans after 2008. Earlier, the scheme titled Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Samman Yojana covered only those farmers who have outstanding a loan between 1st of April 2012 and 30th of June 2016. And China on Thursday reiterated its stand on road construction near Sikkim border, saying that it was legitimate and normal action as the road was being constructed on its own territory. Now, hardening its stance against India, China said that New Delhi had no right to object over the road construction in Dokla area and that India must pull back troops for any peaceful talks to take place. Chinese Foreign Ministry also rejected India's security concerns in the region, saying that India's increased activity on the border areas was rather a matter of concern for China's security. The ties between the two nations have been deteriorating ever since the Indian troops prevented the Chinese from the construction in the area. On Thursday, Beijing made it clear that its President Xi Jinping will not have a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Germany, saying that the atmosphere was not right for the meeting. Meanwhile, Chinese army carried out exercises simulating real battle scenarios at high-altitude areas in Tibet. The PLA tested new equipments, including a light battle tank, besides conducting live firing exercises.
我们并不明白印方所谓的中国的修路行动给印方带来严重安全风险的依据是什么？中方在自己的领土上修路，这是主权国家的正当行为，合理。
Time to slip into a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
hydroelectric cell has been invented by us in India. It is internationally recognized, accepted, and it's a low cost, which is non-toxic. It does not use any of chemicals in it. Besides this, it's a portable, can be used anywhere, anytime, day, night.
Watch Eureka with Dr. R.K. Kotnala, Chief Scientist at National Physical Laboratory, Delhi, only on Rajya Sabha television.
And now an update on the situation in Darjeeling. Well, all parties of the Darjeeling Hills on Thursday decided to continue with their indefinite shutdown. A 5-hour-long meeting held in the hill town witnessed an intense debate on whether to continue the Bandh for a separate Gorkha land state or not. The meeting also witnessed the first assembly of the newly formed Gorkha Land Movement Coordination Committee. The committee has 30 representatives of all the hill-based parties. The committee will again meet on 18th of July. Meanwhile, the internet services remain suspended. Police and security forces are patrolling the streets and keeping a tight vigil at the entry and the exit routes. Meanwhile, the BJP has claimed that the Darjeeling issue can be solved if Mamata Banerjee kept aside her ego.
दार्जिलिंग का विषय भी 24 घंटे में हल किया जा सकता है यदि अपने अहम को छोड़कर और ममता जी सीधे वहाँ के नेताओं से बात करती। पर डिक्टेटरशिप, तानाशाही की उनकी जो स्वभाव है उसके कारण दार्जिलिंग भी बिगड़ा है और यहाँ पर भी जो परिस्थितियाँ बिगड़ी इसके लिए सिर्फ और सिर्फ जिम्मेदार हैं तो मुख्यमंत्री स्वयं जिम्मेदार हैं।
More news from West Bengal, where fresh violence took place in Buduria, Basirhat and surrounding areas after relative calm on Thursday morning. The reports claim that police fired gas to control the protesters, blocking the roads there. Section 144 was imposed in riot-hit areas of North 24 Parganas district, with internet services remaining disrupted. BJP President Amit Shah formed a 3-member committee which would visit the riot-affected areas of North 24 Parganas district and submit a report on communal violence in the region. Meanwhile, the opposition Congress and the Left Front delegation team will visit the riot-hit areas today. Governor K.N. Tripathi has said that all actions being taken on to control normalcy in the region are continuing. He has also appealed for peace.
I want the peace should be restored, law and order should be restored, and I am happy that steps are being taken in that direction.
कोई समस्या है तो गृह मंत्रालय को, गृह मंत्री को बताना है, मगर पब्लिकली स्टेटमेंट देना और राज्यपाल जी का नाम लेकर अपमान करना अच्छा नहीं है। हम संघीय व्यवस्था में है और राज्यपाल का संविधान में एक महत्वपूर्ण स्थान दिया है, वो अपना काम करेंगे।
हमारे मुख्यमंत्री जी हमेशा बीजेपी को ये सब में दोषी ठहराने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। बड़ा अजीब लगता है कि ये बंगाल उनसे चलाया नहीं जा रहा है तो वो क्यों ना वो मान ले। कभी गवर्नर पर गलत तरीके से बातें कर रही है।
The state government has been unable to control the situation. That is why it is necessary for the army to be deployed. First step should be to see that the violence is ended and peaceful life is restored. The situation is alarming because we have seen in West Bengal, because of the communal politics which is now prevailing, where both the Trinamool Congress and the BJP are creating polarization.
News from the northeast of the country, and 3 more miners lost their lives in the current wave of floods in Assam, taking the toll to 24. Heavy showers and landslides continued for the 4th consecutive day in Arunachal Pradesh as well. Light to moderate rain and thunder showers occurred at most places over the eastern regions and at a few places in western parts of Uttar Pradesh also. 24 people have died in Assam due to floods that have affected 4 lakh people across 15 districts, and as many as 42,000 of them have been rendered homeless, taking shelter in relief camps. The worst hit district is Karimganj, where over 2 lakh people have been affected by the swirling waters, followed by Lakhimpur with 80,000 affected. In neighbouring Arunachal Pradesh, over 10,000 people in Nagaon district have also been hit by flash floods. 300 people were rescued in Barpeta district after Beki River started inundating villages. Meanwhile, most parts of Uttar Pradesh received rainfall since Wednesday, leading to rise in the water level of Ganga between Kannauj and Balia. Heavy to very heavy rains were recorded at isolated places in the state. Though rainfall has brought a much-needed respite from the heat, it has led to land erosion at river banks and water logging in several areas, disrupting normal life. And liquor baron Vijay Mallya appeared for the third time at the Westminster Magistrates Court on Thursday. Mallya will face a UK court in December that will decide whether he can be extradited to India to face prosecution. Now, remember, he has been in the United Kingdom since March 2016 and was arrested by Scotland Yard on an extradition warrant on 18th of April this year. Now, Mallya is wanted in India for Kingfisher's default loans worth nearly 9,000 crore rupees. More international news now. France has said that it would take measures to end the sales of diesel and petrol cars by 2040. Now, calling it a revolution, French Ecology Minister Nicolas Hulot said that the ban on fossil fuel vehicles was part of a renewed commitment to the Paris climate deal. Hulot said that aim of the move was to make France carbon neutral by 2050, as well as cut the nuclear share of the country's power mix to 50% by 2025. He also said that poorer households would receive financial assistance to replace older and more polluting vehicles with cleaner ones. French President Emmanuel Macron and Hulot have said that they aim to ensure that France goes beyond the country's own commitments regarding the Paris 2015 climate change agreement.
Nous annonçons la nouvelle thématique de la vente, c'est faire de la France le numéro 1 de l'économie verte, en faisant de l'accord de Paris une chance pour l'attractivité, l'innovation et l'emploi. C'est très important parce que j'espère que j'y parviendrai. Mais...
And let's get you some more international news now in World Wrap. A 6.5 magnitude earthquake killed at least 2 people in the central Philippines on Thursday, with more than 5 people still trapped inside a collapsed commercial building. An 18-year-old woman died after being hit by falling debris in Ormoc City on Leyte Island near the epicenter of the earthquake. Elsewhere, rescuers pulled out 8 survivors and 1 body from a collapsed 3-story structure in the town of Kananga. French lawmakers voted for the 6th time to extend the country's state of emergency. This as Interior Ministry figures showed that security forces have thwarted more than 1 terror attack a month on an average this year. The newly elected parliament, dominated by MPs from centrist President Emmanuel Macron's new party, voted 137 in favour to 13 against to extend the state of emergency until November. Thousands of Tibetans on Thursday joined in the 82nd birthday celebrations of their spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama. On the occasion, the Tibetan cabinet urged US President Donald Trump to initiate steps to restart dialogue on Tibet's future. The Dalai Lama, revered by Tibetans as a living god, attended the prayers at Chivatsel Phodrang complex and blessed the gathering. A monitor says that US-led coalition airstrikes have killed at least 224 civilians since the Syrian forces it backs entered the Islamic State group bastion Raqqa a month ago. But the coalition pushed back the report, saying that its critics were not conducting detailed assessments. Arab and Kurdish fighters from the Syrian Democratic Forces broke into Raqqa on 6th of June after a month-long operation to encircle the northern city. On to some sports news now. At the Wimbledon, it was a mixed day for India as Rohan Bopanna advanced to the second round, while Leander Paes bowed out of the men's doubles event. Now, Rohan Bopanna and his French partner, Roger Vesseline, defeated German pair of Dustin Brown and Mika Zverev in straight sets 6-3, 7-6, 6-4. However, Leander Paes and his Canadian partner, Adil Shamsuddin, lost a marathon first-round battle to Austrian Julian Noel and Philippe Oswald. The Indo-Canadian pair lost a 6-4, 6-4, 2-6, 6-7, 8-10. Meanwhile, in the men's singles, top seeds Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic have breezed into the third round. Third seed Roger Federer, who is seeking a record 8th title, beat Serbian Dusan Lajovic 7-6, 6-3, 6-2. While world number 2, Djokovic swept past Adam Pavlasek 6-2, 6-2, 6-1 in the second round encounter. Meanwhile, 6th seed Milos Raonic, 8th seed Dominic Thiem and 10th seed Alexander Zverev also progressed to the third round. In the women's singles, world number 1 Angelique Kerber went through to the third round after beating Kirsten Flipkens 7-5, 7-5 in a tough encounter. Polish 9th seed Agnieszka Radwanska and Russian 7th seed Svetlana Kuznetsova also progressed to the next round. However, 3rd seed Karolina Pliskova was ousted from the tournament after losing in 3 sets to world number 87. And in cricket, India defeated West Indies by 8 wickets in the 5th and the final ODI to clinch the 5-match series 3-1. Now, skipper Virat Kohli led from the front with a fluent century as India chased down the 206-run target with relative ease. Kohli remained unbeaten on 111 along with Dinesh Karthik, who was not out on 50 runs. Now, with his 28th ODI ton, the Indian skipper surpassed Indian batting legend Sachin Tendulkar for most hundreds in the 50-over format while chasing. Earlier electing to bat, the host made 205 for 9 in the stipulated 50 overs. Indian bowler Mohammad Shami bagged 4 wickets, while Umesh Yadav returned with impressive figures of 3 for 53. And that's it from me and my team in this edition of News. Thanks for watching. Have a great day ahead.